Hi, welcome to Kalipso Tutorials. In this tutorial, we'll see how to work with keyboards. Kalipso has its own virtual keyboards. To use them, all you have to do is call the keyboard action. Let's call it for our login input box. Notice that you can choose between alpha, numeric, calendar, time, or calendar and time keyboards. But when your target is an input box, you can use the auto keyboard. It's particularly useful because you don't need to specify anything. All the parameters, including the keyboard type, are inherited from the target input. So even if you change the input type, the keyboard action will automatically adapt. Notice that this action can be called from any other control. So you can create a button and call the keyboard action and specify the target as being the input box. Let's try it out. Notice that Kalipso opens an alphanumeric keyboard just as expected. So I'm going to input my credentials and log in, and this way we can check out the form that we've previously created automatically with Kalipso. Because you can see that on this form Kalipso has by default created the keyboard action in all the inputs. So we can see the alpha keyboard, we can see the numeric keyboard, and also the calendar and time keyboard. This interface is similar in Windows platforms except Phone Edition. So we can deploy our project to a Windows mobile device that I have attached to my computer. And if I double click the login, we can see the full screen keyboard. So I can input my credentials. Products, carrots, edit, double click, and again, the alphanumeric keyboard, the numeric keyboard, and the calendar and time keyboard. So the same interface as seen before. But there's another way to manage virtual keyboards. You can call the device's virtual keyboard, which is best known by Software Input Panel. So on my input password, I'm going to set it to on when the control gets focus. So set Software Input Panel on, and I'm going to set it off when the control lose focus. We can collapse the error management. And let's test on the Windows device. I need to close this one first. No need to generate data file. I need to exit the application before doing the deployment, otherwise you get the error that you see. So I'm going to say yes to try it again. So as you can see, I can input here my credentials either by double clicking or typing, and when this gets focus, the keyboard of the operating system opens, and when it loses, it closes. It's also possible to capture the keys pressed in the virtual or physical keyboard. The first step is to make sure it's configured in the terminal associated with the project. We can go to our project properties and edit the associated terminal. Access the Keys tab and notice how this device has a definition for all these keys. This is the name of the key, and this is the ASCII code returned to the operating system when pressing that specific key. To know the ASCII code returned by a key in Windows Mobile, CE, or desktop, simply launch the Keys application located on your Kalipso folder. So I'm going to go to my Windows Mobile device. I'm going to access the Kalipso folder, and here's my Keys application. Let's look how it's going to tell me the information about the keys. I'm going to press, for instance, the Enter key. As you can see, it displays me the ASCII code of the key I've just pressed. In this case, the 13, which is the Enter key. For Android devices, you need to do it in a little bit different way. You need to add the key press event to your first form and output the value of keyword key press with a message box. So basically there's no keys application available for Android. So let's do that test in our project. Let's leave the application. Let's close, cancel, and cancel. So in our first form, actions, we need to add the key pressed event. And now we are going to output the value with a message box, and the value is going to be the content of the key pressed keyword. So let me pull up my Android device. Here it is. So I'm going to deploy the project again. Okay. And I'm going to press the D key, for instance, so nothing happens, the backspace, and you can see it captures the backspace and tells me it's ASCII 8, or even the done button, which tells me it's 13, just like the enter on Windows. A special behavior is implemented for the back button. So back to our designer. The back button on Android can be captured in the X button click event of the form, which corresponds to clicking this button. So on your actions, you have the X button click at the event. Now that we know how to know which ASCII code is returned by a key, we can capture it. Since we no longer need it, I'm going to comment the message box. Now I'm going to add the Enter key to the login. Input, Actions, Enter. So let's say that when this key is pressed, we set focus on input password. Now on input password, we are also going to add the key event enter. But in this case, let's say that it executes the event of button login. And now to finish it up, let's go to the X button click, and as we've seen, we can execute the event of button exit. So on Windows, if the user clicks the X button, the application gets closed. On Android, if he presses the back button, the application also gets closed. Let's try it. I'm going to press enter. So the cursor jumps to the next input. I'm going to put the password. Oh, and here's a surprise. Remember, the get focus was calling the software input panel. So as soon as this input box gets the focus, on Windows, even on desktop, the software input panel was called. I'm going to close it. Now I'll press enter. And we are now in the menu plane. And now look what happens if I press the X button. Instead of moving to previous plane as we wanted, Kalipso has closed the form. This is because we are using planes, but only one form. So remember, there's only one X button, the same for the two planes. And we are saying regardless of the plane, we always do the exit button. So what we should do is distinguish the plane where we are. So all we need is if, and we can use the current plane keyword to evaluate. So if we are on plane 1, which is the which is the login, we do the button exit. We can even copy and paste the if. But as you can see, it looks something strange. But you can right click and convert it to an else if and say else if current plane equals 2, and now copy the execute event and say not button exit but button logout. So if we are on plane 1, if we are on plane 1, we execute the button exit. If we are on plane 2, we execute the button logout. Let's try it out. So I'm going to log in. Now if I press the X button, we go to plane number 1. If we press the X button again, the application closes. Congratulations, you've concluded the tutorial about keyboards.